You'll recall that Kevin McCarthy decided to release or give Tucker Carlson the opportunity to see all of the videos that have been shielded from the public from the day on January 6th, the unplanned congressional open house that the U.S. Congress had. And Tucker Carlson, he is doing his best to walk a fine line, knows that that Fox is facing probably not an existential threat to its existence, although arguably in terms of this Dominion lawsuit. And so, and what else is interesting is happening in the Republican Party is that January 6th, you'll recall, the day after, even the day of, Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, all these Republican leaders were criticizing Trump and were outraged and were horrified. And then over time, of course, they decide it's not in our political interest to do that. And they have tried to sort of like whitewash the sheen of it. And the reason is they are very, very nervous that Trump is going to be the nominee and they're going to be losing Republican voters because of that day. That's what they're concerned about. Make no mistake about it. They're not going to waste time on this. They're going to give it to Tucker Carlson unless they're really worried about that. If they, that's what their fear is. And so they need to whitewash it. And Tucker Carlson, that's his job. He also, again, remember, he needs the stock price for Fox to go up. And so he needs to bring back some of those QAnon folks. And the best way to do it is to do this. This is clip number one.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson and happy Monday. We're about to show you surveillance footage from inside the United States Capitol. The images you'll see were recorded 26 months ago today on January 6, 2021. Until now, politicians have kept this tape hidden from the public. There is no legitimate justification for that, and there never has been. On January 6, 2 years ago, thousands of protesters walked from a Trump rally on the ellipse outside the White House to the U.S. Capitol, where the certification of the presidential election was underway. The protesters were angry. They believed that the election they had just voted in had been unfairly conducted.
Pause it for 1 second, and we're going to go back just a couple of seconds. Now, what we're seeing in the context of the discovery from this lawsuit is a big part of the reason why they were upset thinking that the election had been stolen was aided and abetted by this very Fox News. And they did so because they were worried about the blowback that they received when they called the election correctly in Arizona on 2020. I mean, this is all documented. New York Times came out with a story just the other day that has all these quotes. Brett Baer, the other newsy person there, what's her name? Martha McClellan, was that it?
Martha McCallum, yeah.
Yeah, they were all like, look, we can do calls based upon statistics and math, but we need another layer to consider. And that layer is our stock values are going to go down because people aren't going to like us anymore who watch the show. And so in the subsequent weeks, Fox was part of ginning up this notion that your country has been stolen from you.
As a lie.
As a lie.
It is a fact. A fact now that we know from this Dominion discovery that Tucker Carlson knew this was a lie.
It was,
yeah.
He knew it was a lie.
Propaganda.
This is one, his Fox viewers, they're in that bubble that you talk about, right? So they're probably not reading this. They might just say it's fake news. But if there's anybody on the margins, this is a bit of a CYA moment for him too.
Yep. And the way he's CYAing it is he's going to say that they were justified in believing it was stolen, but not explain why. Because if he did, it would probably be used in their lawsuit like they still haven't learned their lesson. Go ahead.
They had just voted in had been unfairly conducted, and they were right. In retrospect, it is clear the 2020 election was a grave betrayal of American democracy. Given the facts that have since emerged about that election, no honest person can deny it.
Pause it. Now, he will deny it because if you listen carefully the way he's constructed that, he can deny it because he's clearly dishonest. And we know that from the discovery in this Dominion lawsuit.
That's why he says it was unfairly conducted. That's a very specific piece of language about the election. Not that it was rigged, not that it was stolen, not that there was Hugo Chavez inside of the machine. It was unfairly conducted. So
do tell. But he can't because he's got a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because then he'll get in the deep. Blake Masters was in the primary.
Exactly. All right, let that run out, and then we'll go to the next one.
This person can deny it. Yet the beneficiaries of that election continue to lie about what is now obvious.
Okay. Yeah. So then he goes on to show this exculpatory video. Remember now, Tucker Carlson has access to all of the videos now. So what he's going to show you, and this is on the 2-year anniversary of January 6th. So this is the night where everybody's tuning in to see this stuff. He's going to show you the most exculpatory stuff. And it's actually going to be footage of people not rampaging. He's going to show you the rampaging stuff, but then he's going to say, like, there's also not rampaging. So in other words, like, it's basically
Is this
like
how he
saying,
treated the George Floyd protests?
yeah, of course. But this is also like saying, like, everybody spends time thinking about the time where that person's bludgeoning the other person. But they never think about what's happening the other 23 hours of the day. Like, that's what this is about, right? Like, yeah. They weren't just marauding. They were sometimes also walking comfortably because they had already won. And like the cops didn't know what to do at that point because there was already half of their force in the infirmary, essentially. But here we go.
And one more thing. Virtually no one in Washington, Republican or Democrat, certainly not in the news media, wanted to see this tape released tonight. That's why it's remained hidden for more than 2 years. In recent weeks, the usual hyenas in Congress and on cable news have been howling about we are putting lives at risk by showing this tape to the public. Given that these are the very same people who support open borders and defunding the police, it is hard to take their complaints seriously. But we do take security seriously. So before airing any of this video, we checked first with the Capitol Police. We're happy to say their reservations were minor, and for the most part, they were reasonable. In the end, the only change that we made was in blurring the details of a single interior door in the Capitol building. You're unlikely even to notice it when we show you, and we are confident it does not affect our reporting.
So there is value in pushback about security because it forced him to go to the Capitol Police to get a sign off. But go ahead.
Of a single interior door in the Capitol building.
Oh, it also occurs to me that if I was like a Speaker of the House, I would probably do that. I would do the part. I wouldn't leave it up to Tucker Carlson to do that. I would do that, but Kevin McCarthy can't do anything that Tucker Carlson doesn't want him to do. Go ahead.
You're unlikely even to notice it when we show you, and we are confident it does not affect our reporting. With that, here's the video. It doesn't answer every question from January 6th, far from it. But it does prove beyond doubt that Democrats in Congress, assisted by Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, lied about what happened that day. They are liars. That is conclusive, and that fact should prevent them from ever being taken seriously again. We're going to begin tonight with footage that shows you what was actually happening inside the Capitol. The footage does not show an insurrection or a riot in progress. Instead, it shows police escorting protesters through the building, including the now infamous QAnon shaman. Watch. These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that.
Exaggeration.
But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story.
We saw all this too.
No, we did see all this. We saw it in real time. But the amazing thing about it is it literally is like so much of like, a serial abuser going like, you only remember the bad times.
Yes.
You only remember the times where I hit you, but never the times where I brought you flowers afterwards. Or the times I just wasn't hitting you.
Yeah, look at these people peacefully sort of protesting on behalf of a lie that I've been servicing for lead up to this.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like this would be the version of him going like, the all this footage of like the Ukrainian military just hanging out in their bunks and sleeping. Like I mean, it's just. What's amazing is this is the best he could do.
Yeah.
Just let it play because it is.
No, it's all the real messages in the framing and the suggestion.
Without a doubt. Look at that. There's people there who are
want you to see this.
There was like cops after their friends had been beaten to death who were just trying to like stay there and contain the situation.
Last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th.
Oh, look, somebody picked up
More
something.
than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim.
Demolished.
And that's exactly why the Democratic Party and its allies in the media prevented you from seeing it. By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference.
This is his Adam Curtis project.
Yes, exactly.
They created
It's like
a
Adam Curtis
pretext
getting
for
the
a
BBC
federal
archives.
crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Our office wanted to ensure that there was shock and all that.
Sorry, pause it 1 second. The Uniparty in Washington, he got these. Could you just remind people how he got access to these tapes?
It was just given to him by Kevin McCarthy.
Who is he part of one of the parties?
He's part of the Uniparty.
By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference. Those lies had a purpose. They created a pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Pause it. The federal, to be clear, it was all the people that you're seeing there who are smashing stuff and stabbing, with their flags, the cops. Those are the people who have been cracked down upon. Go ahead.
And you would never know the difference. Those lies had a purpose. They created a pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Our office wanted to ensure that there was shock and all that. We could charge as many people as possible.
The first thing you notice from viewing the full video record of January 6th is just how many people entered the Capitol building that day. Hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly thousands, over the course of about 2 hours. The crowd was enormous. A small percentage of them were hooligans. They committed vandalism. You've seen their pictures again and again. But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful. They were orderly
look at these
and
brochures.
meek.
Oh,
But I don't care if no glass was busted and they just overran security and meandered around there like cows. They were there to encourage the overturning of an election that they fucking lost.
Officer, I did not smash the window. I walked in here, it was already smashed. I saw a TV. I quietly, calmly walked up to the TV, took it, and walked out. I'm sure Tucker Carlson would be like, oh, this is called browsing and shopping. It's just that it wasn't their fault that there was no one there to take their credit card.
It's shattered window shopping. But also, again, just returning to the point Matt made, none of this grace would ever be given to any of the protesters protesting for Black Lives Matter, even as we have increasing evidence that there were FBI provocateurs in some of those demonstrations, pushing demonstrators to violence. With this, it's like, hey, look at these guys. They're just tourists in D.C.
Yep.
Some outside agitators, but besides that, they were just, flooding the Capitol to, again, overturn an election that they lost. And that Tucker can't be explicit about, that has to tap dance around that, I think says it all.
They committed vandalism. You've seen their pictures again and again. But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful. They were orderly and meek. These were not insurrectionists. They were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th.
I'm not going to show you much of that footage. I'm just going to show you these 2-second clips of like people walking. God.
Were not insurrectionists. They were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. They're
wearing helmets
selfies and they
for
smile.
some weird reason.
They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol. They're there because they believe the election was stolen from them. They believe in the system. Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon shaman outside the Senate chamber. These are not rioters. These are people who wandered over from a political rally.
We will not let them silence your voices.
I'm not going to watch the rest of this, but you can go and watch this. There are images of and video of the shaman basically with cops following him. Now, I guess they could have arrested him, but here's the point. What would 2 cops who arrested somebody in there do? You had cops on one side of the wall who had their guns drawn, protecting members of the House. What you don't see is video of Republicans or any members of the Uniparty going like, why are you doing that? Put your guns away. No, they're all terrified. Including Mike Pence, who was ushered out of the building. Why was he?
Tom Cotton.
This is an open house. Why isn't Mike Pence going up and feeding them cookies? Why was Josh Hawley running away?
Fist bumping from behind the barricade, going to the crowd as opposed to scampering away.
Yeah, why was Josh Hawley running away instead of like, oh, hi, everyone, come visit my office. Look, here's some cookies. The idea that there were cops tailing, let's say, the QAnon guy, because what are they supposed to do? They arrest that guy? How many feet are they going to get out of the building? They're going to get bludgeoned like their buddies. But this is what Tucker Carlson is doing, and this is the value of this, even going through this, how much of a joke it is. It's not going to reach any of those Fox viewers. I know that. But it is going to put into light just like the level of complete lack of integrity that Tucker Carlson has. And just about anybody who goes on there lends him a certain amount of credibility. And I should say, like, I believe this not just in the context of Fox News. There are hosts on MSNBC I would not go on with, or a guest who I would not go on with unless I had the opportunity to
challenge them on that.
To challenge them on stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, Glenn Greenwald, for instance, agrees with Tucker about the big tech conspired to steal the election.
And so that's worth it. That's worth it.
And if you're the Davos guy who challenges, what was his name? The guy who spoke about taxation at Davos, who Tucker Carlson had him on, pre-recorded the interview, didn't air it because it was a little too combative. That's the kind of outfit that he has out there.
Yes. The way to go on these shows is one and done. That's it.